All right, I have to be quick because this is happening so fluidly in in Venezuela that I need to date everything because whatever I say today could be completely inaccurate. Today is January 27th, 2019, and things are happening so fluidly a flash war could erupt at any time between Russia, yes, I doubt it, but Russia, Iran, Hezbollah, all in Venezuela, in the Western Hemisphere. The Monroe Doctrine. We stay out of your crap, you stay out of our crap. Well, we've been up in everyone else's crap for a long time, so I guess the roosters come home to roost or something. The chickens, I don't know how it goes. But I'm going to break it down as quickly as possible. In Venezuela, there was a contested election. Nicolas Maduro, who was already the president of Venezuela, they've been seeing, I'm sure on the news you've seen the riots, the social unrest because of the lack of basic services and just basic humanitarian stuff, electricity, water, sanitation, things like that. Nicolas Maduro ran in a contested election, probably fraudulent, and he ran against Juan Guaido. Well, contested election, both say that they won. Trump weighs in. He's with Juan. I'm just going to call him Juan. He's with Juan, and Russia and Iran back the other guy, Maduro. So it's kind of like a proxy thing. I'm trying to get this position correctly. Actually, no way for me to. There we go. Okay. I took some notes. Now this is based on some articles that I've read. I'm just going to bust this out really quick. Bullet points. This is what's disturbing. Maduro his backing comes from Russia, Putin's Russia, and Iran, and Hezbollah, which Iran has inside of Venezuela. Anyone who's been following my videos knows that I have long talked about Hezbollah being inside of Venezuela in the Western Hemisphere, an Iranian proxy, a militia, an armed wing being inside of Venezuela. I've long talked about this. Iran and Venezuela have had close ties for about 2 decades now. And if you look, one of the high-level officials in Maduro's government, his father, he's Lebanese, and his father was like buddies with Saddam Hussein or something. I'm not sure. Look it up. It's an Arab name. He's in the government there in Venezuela. So they even have like Arabs inside their government. So I mean, it's like cultural. It's everything. So about 20 years ago, Venezuela and Iran they formed a strategic alliance, and Iran has bought off so many players in Venezuela politically, militarily. Iran has begun years ago to form its own militia, again Iran, like Iran version 2 over here in Venezuela. And right now is a very, very, it's a flashy time. It's a flashy time, flash war. Okay, because there are recent reports of up to 400 Russian soldiers. They call them, quote, mercenaries. That way, if they all get slaughtered, Putin can save face. Up to 400 Russian mercenaries / soldiers are being sent to Venezuela right now. Okay. The Venezuela defense minister, Vladimir Padruno. So the other guy, the one guy in Venezuela in the Venezuelan government, he's an Arab, links to the Middle East. This freaking guy, the defense minister for Venezuela, his first name's Vladimir. Just like Vladimir Putin in Russia. This is just weird connections. Okay, so let's see. The Russian defense minister announced Monday, the 21st, so I'm a little bit late on this, the deployment of 2 strategic bombers to Venezuela, a heavy military transport aircraft, it's going to be used to move tanks and heavy vehicles like that, and a long-haul plane to Caracas, the capital of Venezuela. So the Russians are already putting air assets into place, and 2 strategic bombers would be equivalent to 2 B-52s. 2 American B-52s. The Russians have sent 2 strategic bombers, military transport, airlift, long-haul plane, and Iran is planning to deploy several warships, including its newest destroyer, to Venezuela in the coming weeks. One of them appears, the Syrian representative talked about there being helicopters. So I'm assuming maybe one of them is a helicopter, like a destroyer slash helicopter platform, like a hybrid of the aircraft carrier just with platforms. The French have been doing them a lot. We do it, but anyhow, so the Russians are sending air assets. They're sending troops, 400 plus. Iran, not Syria, Iran is deploying several warships across the Atlantic into our crap in the Western Hemisphere. And the Venezuelan Defense Minister, Vladimir, announced that Venezuelan troops and Russian troops, Russian personnel, up to 100 Russian personnel, will soon be conducting joint air exercises. Okay, Putin has promised recently, because Cuban president, this is all about an anti-American axis in the Western Hemisphere. Venezuela and Cuba are leading the way. Cuban President Diaz-Canel and President Maduro of Venezuela recently went to Moscow. Putin promised both of them expansive economic investment into the countries. So now Russia comes into play. So in addition to the military assets that they're sending, economically, they're going to hedge these guys in. They're going to owe Russia. They're in Russia's pocket. But Russia backs Iran. Iran backs Venezuela. It's all tied together. Okay, so Iran is deploying warships to Venezuela as we speak. Russian soldiers and transport aircraft and heavy bombers and air assets are being transferred to Venezuela, and some have already been transferred to Venezuela as we speak. And that's why I have to be so fast with this. I normally don't do 2 videos back to back, but something could pop off really, really quickly. And these caravans coming up, these migrant caravans, don't you think that these Iranians in Venezuela and the native Venezuelans that the Iranians have recruited to be in Hezbollah, they blend in with other Spanish people, and especially the natives who Iran would have trained to be a part of their Venezuelan Hezbollah. So I'm sure they have Iranian officers there, the Quds Force, which is the Iranian Foreign Services Division, like that's the part of the military responsible for what goes on outside of Iran. It's their special forces. So Iran has Quds Force members inside of Venezuela. So they have native Iranian Persians in their proxy army, their Hezbollah army. And I'm sure they've recruited many natives. And they could easily sneak up through these caravans in the United States. And they've caught a number of people, Syrian migrants and things. They've caught them at the Canadian border and at the Mexican border. Many, many instances. Even refugees from Afghanistan are mixing in with these caravans. That's another thing that people aren't talking about. This caravan thing's a national security issue because they're putting sleeper cells up in here. Who knows what they're going to end up doing? I mean, there's already a bunch here to begin with. Back to the matter at hand. Venezuela seems like it could be a flashpoint. You have Russian troops. You have Russian air assets. I'm sure the Russians are going to be sending ships with those air assets. They're sending troops, quote, mercenaries. Iran is sending a small fleet. Putin is investing economically in Venezuela. There's already riots in the street. The population's already they've been rioting for a long time now. And with this contested election that recently happened between Maduro and Juan Guaido, both claiming to be victors in the Venezuelan election, Maduro is recognized by, Russia, Iran, stuff like that as being the incumbent, as being the person who won. Other countries, Canada just jumped on board with Trump. We're not recognizing Maduro. We're recognizing his opponent, Juan, who I guess is more pro-America. Pro-America, Maduro, as we can see from, he's been the president, we can see from his past policies what the country has devolved into. So in addition to all these outside influences, you also have the internal social upheaval. Massive riots, violence, and bloodshed on top of everything else, and we're looking at there's probably going to be a coup, is what I think. I believe that's how Chavez came to power, Hugo Chavez. One thing we need to look out for, Alba, Google it, it's real easy, all caps, ALBA. The Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of our America People's Trade Treaty. It's a weird long name, but it's Alba. ALBA. It was founded by Cuba and Venezuela in 2004, and this is what it is. This is from Wikipedia. Quote, Alba is an intergovernmental organization based on the idea of the social, political, and economic integration of the countries of Latin America and the Caribbean, leaving out America and all that. This is strictly, Mexico down. We're actually south of Mexico down. It's a socialism hybrid. Members include, now this is an anti-American thing, this Alba Alliance. This is an anti-American thing, and Russia and Iran are more and more coming in. They're investing in it. Now they're putting troops right in our backyard. They're putting troops, they're putting heavy bombers in our backyard. Members are Venezuela, so this is kind of like the anti-American economic, political, social, military axis in the Western Hemisphere. You got Russia backing them, and you have Iran backing them. The members officially are Venezuela, Cuba, Bolivia, Grenada, Nicaragua, and 5 other very small nation states in the region. Observer members include Iran and Syria. Iran and Syria are observer members to what's being touted as an economic socialist agenda, something Western Hemisphere, it's among the Latin American states and all that, yet the observer members are Iran and Syria. All right, I got to wrap this up. Russia is backing Iran. Russia has troops and air assets inside of Venezuela. Venezuela has been on fire for many, many months now with street protests. The Russians are moving in. The Iranians are already there. They've been there a long time. They're probably arming up. They're probably tapping their magazines against their freaking helmets and getting ready to go. They're the Hezbollah wing that they have there in Venezuela. It's really everything's up in the air right now. That's why I'm dating it. Again, January 27th, because January 29th there could be a war. January 29th, we might be hugging Maduro, and Putin moves to the United States and becomes a U.S. citizen. A U.S. citizen renounces his Russian citizenship and retracts his statement that the fall of the Soviet Union was the greatest geostrategic catastrophe of the 20th century. He reverses that. It's the best thing that happened in the 20th century. Debatable. But in here, Vladimir, you see what I'm saying. So watch out for potential flash war in Venezuela. It is heating up fast. Things are very, very, very fluid. I could go into the living room right now and turn on the TV, and there could be something popping off. Some kind of like a civil war. That's what it would be, I think. I don't think American troops are going to be landing in Venezuela or anything. I think, if anything, we'll just have the CIA Special Activities Division in there doing weird black ops crap that we'll never hear about, and instigating a civil war or something, just a basic proxy war, except instead of it being in Syria, like right now we're doing a proxy war in Syria where Russia's involved, Iran's involved, we're involved, Turkey's involved. This proxy war's in our backyard. It's in Venezuela. So, all right, keep your eyes out. I'll try to keep it updated. It all depends on my health. Come on, Holmes.